Welcome back, everyone, to another great episode of The Human Rule. So, I have an amazing guest again, Kay Sargent. She is the Senior Principal Director of Interior at HOK. She's a powerhouse in the design space. And she also has launched her book, Designing Neuroinclusive Workplaces. So, this is perfect from the HR space. I know all my notes. So as you can tell, it's very intriguing. I learned lots of things about not only myself, but just background. And also it's just very insightful. And I think what Kay is doing in the industry is going to be, well, it's already a game changer, but it's going to even help our industry kind of like explode and better help our employee population. So
you're a great PR thinker. You're with me everywhere I go. I love
I'll be your cheerleader behind the scenes.
Right.
Great. All the good things. So as you guys remember our last episode, Kay is a total jokester. She's amazing. I heard her this morning speak perfectly out of breakfast and really excited that she took some time to sit next to me and allow this platform to continue. So wanted to start, no introduction needed for Kay. I will also post another link to the first episode that we had where she gave her background, she gave her industry experience, and also kind of went through the definition of neurodiversity. So if anyone is curious about that, if this is your first time hearing that word, please go back and listen to that episode because that'll catapult you into this new space. But we really wanted to focus on this book today because it's helped me, Kay knows it's helped even myself. It's helped me understand, friends and family around me. And it's definitely been a game changer. So I will post a link for you all to also go and purchase the book and then look at
That's lovely to hear.
But yeah, so Kay, I wanted to just start by saying Kay opens up and is very vulnerable in this book. She talks about her children and some of their struggles in this space as well, not just neurodiversity, but ADHD, autism, dyslexia. She covers all spaces. So initially, I was thinking that this book was due to her children. And so she has a perspective from the workplace, but also perspective from her children. However, as you read the book, this actually catapulted because a client of hers actually asked her how she was going to design a workspace for someone that's ADHD. And so I'd like for Kay to give us some insight on that situation.
Yeah, it's almost embarrassing, quite frankly, to say that as a mother of 5, 2 of whom have been officially diagnosed, the other 3 who speculate that they are somewhere on that spectrum and, are probably neurodivergent, that wasn't actually the catalyst. I think it was the client asking us in the meeting 8 years ago. He said, how do you design space for someone that's ADHD? And I didn't have a great answer for that. And I started to kind of do a little bit more research on that. And we found that there was this huge gap. There really wasn't a lot of information about how to design the physical environment to make people who might have a sensitivity to different sensory needs or think differently or process things differently really kind of function well in that shared space. So we started to do a lot of research. And there was a moment where it clicked into me that, this actually is going to be helpful for my own children. And I think it's interesting. We did interview a lot of people.
Yeah.
And several people had a very similar experience. Well, they did not necessarily connect their professional world with their personal world until kind of that synergy was forced together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would say, I think my generation too, being a millennial, we kind of were raised to not really talk about things. And so there is definitely a shift, right, in the world and the generations today where they are more open and they are, I guess, accepting, how they feel and who they are. And she even made a comment earlier this morning when she was speaking about how there was a comment made with the younger generation and someone was making a joke and was like, oh, that was so autistic of you. And it's kind of like, okay, is that okay? Our generation.
I didn't think that was okay, but they did not take it as an insult at all. They actually took it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And if you think the millennials didn't talk about this, I'm like right on the cusp of X or boomer. And boy, we really didn't talk about this because when I was growing up, if you were just that hyper kid that couldn't sit still, or you were just the slow one that didn't know how to read, they really didn't understand a lot about neurodiversity. And then once they did, it wasn't necessarily something to be proud of.
Yeah.
It was something that you were told was a deficit, right?
Yeah.
And we look at it more, it's a difference, not a deficit at all.
Yeah. And also, key factor that Kay mentioned earlier, 70% of disabilities are invisible, right? So it's like,
You have no idea.
yeah, shocking number of, yes, of course, obviously we see people walking around that are, physically on the outside disabled, but there's a lot that we can't see. And I think for me, just reading this book, and as I read through this book, I kind of talked to people around me. Lots of times when people are like angry or mean or upset, you really need to not react if you can, if you can prevent that, just because you don't know what they're holding back and what they're harboring or what they're dealing with. And this could be a reason. They may just not know how to talk about it. They may be nervous to talk about it. And so shifting to the actual book, every chapter started off with a specific quote. And some of the top tier quotes, that one that specifically resonated with me is that we need to stop trying to change people, but change how we perceive them. And so along with that, the chapters do a really good job where they spotlight specific people, really successful people. So we're talking about Andy Warhol, Steve Jobs, Simone Biles, Alan Turing, top people that we know of that have had these different types of conditions, but have also been successful. So I think as like you're reading this book, it flowed very well for me just because it was giving you a lot of information, but it was also giving you like real life examples of people who have dealt with this and have overcome things and have still been successful. So you don't have to be like nervous about it. You don't have to think that you're never going to be able to find a job or do anything. It's definitely an eye opener. So I was curious on how important was that for you to have that information in the book and that authenticity, like how important was that for you to like have, and how did that stick with you?
It was really eye-opening. We interviewed 20 different people, and several of them had some really interesting stories, told me things I did not necessarily know. I think one of them was we talked to a client of ours, and I was very, very involved and very passionate about designing for neuroinclusion. And when I interviewed her just to find out what her origin story was, she goes, and honestly, we never even heard about this until we heard you start talking about it. And then she said it kind of clicked. I think you're talking about my daughters. And she went and had both of her daughters diagnosed. And they were different neurotypes, but they both were. And the doctor was kind of like, looking at you, mom, right? And she's like, wow, okay, so I probably am too. But she had this moment where she realized, I am in charge of designing space and delivering space for this huge organization. My own children couldn't even work here and be successful. And, I think a lot of people shared kind of a similar moment where they realized we have a responsibility to do something about that. We can and we should, for the sake of our own children, because I think a lot of us in my generation, we just kind of powered through. We masked. We tried to hide it. And we don't need to do that. We need to help people truly be their true selves and to be able to embrace that. I mean, it was probably a month ago where my youngest daughter said something about one of her brothers about, oh yeah, he always does this when he, before he walks down a staircase or whatever. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, I do that. But he's so good at masking. I didn't even realize this. And, there's this moment where you feel like kind of like a horrible parent because I never saw this. But I think once you hear it, once you know it, you open yourself up to it, then all of a sudden you see it's far more prevalent than I think most of us really truly realize.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say key word there, we are really good at masking. So I think we just have to get through life and go to work and deal with it. And now there's definitely a shift that's happening.
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
We are doing roundtables all over the world. And we were holding one in our Boston office. And it was in the summer. And it was on a Tuesday morning. We weren't in the office on Monday. We got there Tuesday morning. It was so hot in the office that it was like, oh my gosh, we got to open up the windows to get some air in here. So we did. And everybody comes in, and we had 20 heads of corporate real estate sitting around this table. And right when we started talking, the jackhammer in the construction site next to us starts going off. And I instinctively went to close the window, and then I thought, I'm just going to see, like, how long will people tolerate this, right? And I'm going to tell you, for 20 minutes, we're like shouting at each other, like, et cetera. Nobody said a word. No, everybody was either so polite.
They didn't want to be that.
They were masking. Right. And I finally, after 20 minutes, like, I can't do this anymore because there were two women that were losing. They literally were just so physically agitated. And I don't think they ever recovered. Like, it just threw them off. But if we, in real estate and design, are just sitting there pretending like, yeah, there's nothing's happening here, and going with it, then it's understandable why so many other people don't feel empowered to do anything. And we just are so used to having to suck it up. We don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We have to be able to think about how do we create better solutions for people.
Absolutely. So that's what comforts me when I hear Kay speak, is that there's just this comfort level of like, hey, look, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay to speak up. It's okay to be real in a meeting.
Or you something really mean to a group of people at a meeting, which I feel bad about to
What
this
did
day still.
Kay said this morning? She's an equal opportunity offender.
Equal opportunity offender, right?
Yeah. So it's so funny. But I think a lot of us are nervous and scared to say that, right? We have our livelihoods to protect. We don't want to go that route. But if you speak up, you're going to be speaking for multiple people in the room.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what I mean by that is I'm not intentionally trying to offend people, but you are going to, if you say something to a room of 100 people and they all agree with you, then they didn't really need to hear you because you're all on the same page. And I think sometimes we need to push that envelope a little bit and not be afraid to buck the norm. And one of the things I actually love about people that are neurodivergent is they tend to be brutally honest, and they tend to not really just go along with the status quo. They don't get into that group think like, oh yeah, like, the boss is saying this, so we're all just going to agree, even though nobody agrees with this, and we all think it's ridiculous, right? They tend to be the ones that are like, the emperor has no clothes, right? I think we actually need more of that, because that diversity of thinking is what kind of pushes us forward and makes us realize there are different opinions, and we do need to do that. They also have a really strong sense of justice.
Yeah.
And I think they don't like seeing things when they think things are wrong, or they don't like just kind of going along with it. And they have an amazing capacity for innovation and creativity and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I wish I'm fabulous traits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us to next and final question, the new normal. So I'd like to get Kay's advice on, of course, in the world of AI and all this, that, the third, but would love to hear like next few years, 5-year trajectory. What would, in your opinion, be like the perfect way to go about the new normal in this new neurodiverse space?
Yeah, I'm not sure we're ever going to be normal again. Like, I think we're actually post-normal. I think things are changing so rapidly. One of my favorite quotes is, we've never lived in a time where things have moved as quickly as they are today. We will never live in a time where they move as slowly as they are today again. And that kind of terrifies me a little bit. But I think we need to buckle up, and we need to embrace the notion that things are changing. I think I'd like to break the normal, because being called average, or you're normal or average or typical, has never really been considered a compliment. I think we need to understand people are complex. Solutions for them might have to be complex. We've got to stop trying to standardize everything. And I think if I really had my druthers, we wouldn't be talking about neurotypical and neurodivergent. It would be about just, we are all neurodistinct. We all are interested. We're somewhere on that spectrum. All of us. We are all neurodiverse. We are not necessarily all neurodivergent. And some people are really struggling and challenged with certain conditions. But I would love it if we in our industry really started thinking about evidence-based, science-led design solutions that are intentional. No decision that we make, whether it's alien wallpaper or whatever that is by accident. And we need to understand the ramifications of every design decision that we're making and the environments that we're putting people in, so that we can all really be successful. We also are talking less about neurodiversity and really more about sensory processing and cognitive well-being to optimize human performance for everyone. Because I don't know a single person that is immune to that sensory stimulation that is coming at us. And this is really about helping all of us function better.
Yeah, absolutely. Ding, ding, ding. So look, all my HR people out there, if you are not versed on this, or you know a little bit about it, but not too top heavy on it, definitely reach out to Kay directly, get this book, read through it. It's very eye-opening, and I think will help us with our employee populations. I only found out about it maybe about a year or two ago when I heard Kay speak randomly at an IT conference, and I was like, what is this? And it's been a great journey just kind of learning about it and seeing how everything kind of intertwines with one another, right? And just things that we probably thought were honestly normal back then may not have, may not have been normal. So we're on the path. We're post new normal, as Kay said. So I will correct myself with that. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you need just a free book and you want to kind of just glance out of yourself and just make sure it's worth it, I'm more than happy to share. It is absolutely worth it. You're going to want to pass it around to everybody. So she already knows. I've already got a few to pass around to my group. But yes, okay. Well, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Kay, again, for blessing us with your presence. This is great. And if you guys have any questions, reach out, and I will be back in another couple weeks with another great episode.
And thanks for inviting me. Always good to see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.